What's up, everybody? This is your boy Ty Will. We're back at it again with another edition of One on One with Ty Will. If y'all haven't heard about it, just go to my YouTube at EST Gent on YouTube and find out what's going on. I'm sitting down with a lot of guys that I know personally, and we're just getting stuff off our chest. We're sharing perspective. We're sharing free space. Today is a special edition because I'm sitting down who I would consider my bro, my homie, my friend, and my therapist, Jay Little. Jay Little, man, tell us about yourself, man, before we get into the conversation.
I guess I'm your bro, your homie, your therapist, so we got that out of the way.
Yes, sir.
Jay Little, work here at Forward Counseling. Been doing it for some years now. Have a men's group called Space that we go through every other month.
Yes, sir.
I'm passionate about helping men, especially black men.
Right.
Which is part of the reason why we're here, so it's just a little bit about me.
Indeed, man. Thanks again, man.
No problem.
I'm jumping straight into it, bro.
All right.
So my first question, just aside from who you are, what does therapy mean to you?
Whew. What does therapy mean to you? Looking for the spots where you can be better. Therapy is a space that I believe, I'm a therapist, but I'm also engaged in therapy on my own. So I believe that therapy is a space where you're just looking to be better, not perfect,
Right.
better. Sometimes someone else can point something out. Sometimes there can be a feeling about what you believe you want, but it's just a space to be better, whatever that means for you.
I like that, man.
Whatever that means for
I like that. So what does therapy do for the therapist? Because I heard you say you are a therapist, but you also seek out therapy for yourself.
Right. So it's funny. It was about a year ago. My therapist was telling me, and it was kind of eye-opening. He said something to the effect of Jay, even your interpersonal relationships, you'll have to reevaluate them from time to time because you see so many different people, like you do,
Yes,
right?
sir.
And so you see so many different perspectives on life that you may have an understanding of what goes on for real that other people don't do. And so what it does for me is just cuts through the BS. I get to see, and I'm respectful of people's inner lives.
Yes, sir.
So it's not just what we're seeing on that outside on social media, or if you meet somebody out, you get to see what people really believe, how people really react. And so for me, it gives me, again, a greater worldview. It gives me a greater respect for people individually. And it also shows me that most of us here aren't doing it wrong, we're just trying.
That's good.
Most of us here ain't doing nothing wrong, we just trying. Everybody's just trying the best they can.
Everybody's trying the best they can. And that's real talk, man, because you hear, as well as I, if not more, when guys share their stories and their perspectives, you hear that trying part. Now, let's be honest. I know for me, I'm gonna speak for me. Y'all know I like to speak for me. Trying is hard,
Right.
because people don't understand what trying looks like for you. Like I've got people in my life, that I have to encounter, have to have encounters with, but because they don't understand every aspect of my life, they have this one aspect that they say, okay, well, I don't care about that. I need you to be this in this area. That's hard because I am trying. It ain't gonna be perfect. It ain't gonna look how you want it to look,
Right.
but I'm trying. Can I get some credit for that? A lot of times, man, and we just want to be seen. If you can recognize that I'm at least trying in this area, that'll make me continue trying,
Right.
and sometimes even try harder. And before you know it, it's the best of both worlds.
Right.
But when we don't get that recognition that we're at least trying, then man, I know I'll personally shut down. I'm like, you know what, man, I'm good. You didn't recognize the trying, so I'm telling you what, since it's win or lose, right? So I'm gonna pick this side.
Right.
I'm gonna pick this side, man. Discuss spaces, because when my very first one was held right here last year, man, and it was a life changer. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know the impact that you had on guys, and then to be in a number of guys that all kind of shared that similarity of just having freedom to speak without being interrupted. Everybody's thoughts are heard. We could cry. We could have intimate moments amongst ourselves that just helped us leave this place better and even look at our lives a little better. So can you explain a little more?
So I got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
If he's watching, the first person I talked to, I had a thought about it before, but the first person that really like drove the seed home was Todd.
Todd Simon.
Todd, that was the first
Yeah.
person. That was the first person. We were at leadership, and we were at our first night. We were there for our first night, and he's like, "Man, people really, we really need a space. We really, you know how he is,
Yeah,
energetic, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we just had a conversation. I'd already thought about it, but it drove it home, and so I really started planning from there. And I realized the lack of safe spaces that we as men had, especially here,
Yes, sir.
especially here. And so the goal is to give us spaces to heal, to commune, to be with each other, and to do what is important in a short amount of time. Again, space just started as something non-clinical. We're not trying to diagnose each other. We're just trying to express and discuss our life issues. Again, the format is, for people that don't know, we come together, do some icebreakers.
Yeah.
We talk a little bit. We have a meal. We might talk a little trash.
Yes, sir.
And then we get to the and then we get to the work.
Yeah.
And then we get to the work. And so and then we network and we head out. In my mind, space is a place to be authentically yourself.
Yes, sir.
Because as you've been in there before, you know, there are guys in there, myself included, that you may think are just doing this and that in life, but guys just like you are experiencing a lot of tough stuff.
Yes,
and
sir.
we can share that space in groups. And so, you know, to me, again, I named it space, something real simple. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's a safe space.
That's good, man. And it's rare here in Columbia,
right.
right? And I'll say that it's rare because if it's happening, it ain't promoted.
Right.
One of my goals is to share what space is and to put it out to other black men. They may not all be able to come to the same one, but like we talked about previously, if we could figure out ways to do this a little more often, and every group may not even be the same, but the fact that there is a space for them, I feel like that'll open up some more conversation, man. Yeah. Just to switch the subject a little bit, because I know you, and I know that you're a man of peace. You're a man of boundaries. Not only are you a therapist, but you have these that are embedded in you, right? I believe if you weren't a therapist, you would probably still have these embedded in you.
Something.
A little bit, right?
A little razzle dazzle.
So what do you do, man, for self-care?
I tell people all the time. So a lot of times when I am talking to people and clients, right, I try my best to practice what I preach.
Yes, sir.
I've got my own issues, and we share that. And we share those in space, and
Yes,
I'm very
sir.
open about those things.
Yep.
My favorite thing to do is meditate. I know prayer and meditation are two different things. You can pray about things, but meditation is a little different. Just clearing your mind. I like to go to the sauna and just sit there and think, and just sit there. And, you know, it's kind of like it's an exercise in itself. How long can you take the heat while trying to keep your mind calm?
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorite things.
Good.
Self-care for me. Going to get a manicure, which I
Yeah.
need right now.
Yes, sir.
Yoga is one of my favorite things.
Mine too, brother.
Yoga is one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
And just taking time to spend moments with quality people. Those are my self-care things. I'm rediscovering more of myself as we go along this journey with not only space but my own mental health journey.
I like that, man. And just to be real, like when you talk about self-care, there are things that we share. Like I like to get manicures, pedicures. I love to meditate. I love yoga. Those things are sometimes frowned upon. I'm reading a book. One of the books that I've read, let me say this, over the years, probably the past decade, is called The Metrosexual Man. I won't go in depth of that, but that book alone has really helped me figure out like what self-care can look like for you without even crossing boundaries, which even sometimes those boundaries are like, who says we can't, again, get our nails done? That's why we got them. You know, we can't just grow long nails. And who says we can't do things that give us mindful moments, meditation? Who says we can't do yoga? Right? A couple of years ago, I started implementing yoga with Established Gent. I remember my first yoga session, man, it was 5 of us in there. And these guys are all bigger than me, man, you know, yeah. And they got in there, and it was like, man, that's the hardest thing that I've ever done, right? And they work out, they do all these things, but that stretching and having to be present in that moment, they didn't realize how hard it would be to have to literally just live in the moment and not think about yesterday or not think about what's next or not thinking about their next move, so to speak, but being present in the moment. And I believe since then, like a lot of those guys have shifted mentally. It's just a matter of now being consistent with it.
Right.
So I do one of my things to do is just to be consistent in all those things. I do it on Sunday morning at my church. I do mindful meditation. I sing a song, I do mindful meditation, and then I go straight into prayer. What it does is it opens everybody up. Because when you're working, before you could service other folk, you want to make sure that you're good internally. So I just wanted to ask that question, man. One more question before I get into like another in-depth thing. When you talk about space and the different guys that come in, man, what is it that intrigues you as a guy that puts spaces together? What is it that intrigues you about having us all in one space, having us all black men in one space? Because we ain't got no drama. Yeah, we might cuss and we might, you know, even disagree sometimes, but it never goes further than that. But what intrigues you about that space?
I think the biggest thing is not to F it up.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate. It's kind of emotional for me now, right? Like I'm really passionate about it because I feel like it is something good for the guys that are there. So I don't want to prostitute that space.
Yes, sir.
Number one. And number two, I guess what really intrigues me is I personally have never, not that it doesn't happen elsewhere, but I personally never envisioned anything like it. And it really does my heart good to see guys engaged and getting better together.
Yeah.
And like I say at almost every one of them, I do it as much for the guys in the group as I do it for myself.
Yes, sir.
So what intrigues me about it is just the community of black men, especially in the climate that we're in, the space that we're in, actually being something, doing something, getting better, and keeping that ball rolling. So I think that's what really intrigues me about that space.
Good deal. Man, I went through a stage of depression, not realizing when it first happened that I was in it until about 6 months rolled by, and I realized that I was in a stage of depression for about 18 months. But I was still active. I was still showing up for clients.
Right.
I was still showing up to be a daddy the best way I could. I was still showing up in all of my areas.
Right.
However, whenever I shut down from that, I shut down completely. And I battled with my mind, telling me to do things, not necessarily suicide, but just wanting to quit, wanting to cuss folks out, like literally typing the messages and then selecting all and deleting. I didn't realize that. And then one of my homeboys, man, he's a pastor. I went to a segment that he did. I think I was shooting the segment, and I wasn't there to, be a part of the service. I was just there working. And he called it out. Yeah, he prophetically, he called it out. He was like, Ty, I won't go into details of what he said, but he was like, man, long story short, you're battling depression. And I'm sitting there like, man, don't tell these people that. They don't, I'm working. They don't, I don't look like it.
Right.
And I was trying to be cocky, like, nah, I'm good. And even on the camera, I was like, we good. lying to myself, man. And I remember getting back into my car after I packed all my equipment up, and I sat there before I drove off. I sat there and I just cried, man, like, okay. I didn't want nobody to see that. And I got so comfortable in it that it became my normal. I would just do the work, get the check, get the money, and not talk about what I was going through with anybody, because I just wanted y'all to see a strong man that was just doing it, making money, making things happen, but I was dealing with my internal self. And it blocked me from a lot of things, man. I had just kind of realized, by that time I was probably 4 or 5 years into, after my divorce, but I was just starting to realize the effect of divorce.
Right.
I didn't grieve divorce until 4 or 5 years later. We don't talk about that either, right? Most times when you hear people going through divorce, I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm gonna make sense. When you hear people going through a divorce, it's more so the woman's side. Okay, well, how is she feeling? How is she doing? But ain't nobody checking on me. Nobody checked on me, bro. Nobody checked on me. When I got divorced, man, before I got divorced in the separation, it's like a lot of people turned against me because I was a worship leader. My divorce ended in infidelity, but it also ended in a decision to say, okay, well, hey, it's best that we just go our separate ways. Yeah, we could have gotten back together,
Right.
but I couldn't promise her that I would be a perfect man.
Right.
And that's what we agreed on. If you can't promise me that you're gonna, be better in that area, I had to be real with myself.
Right.
I can't promise you that I'll be better in that area, but I can say that I'll work on it. And we just decided to split. That's my first time ever saying that out loud.
Yeah.
But ignored that, and again, I was still working, jumped back into another relationship, and even in that relationship, I realized like, okay, this ain't really it. But I'm used to being in a relationship, so let me do it. And it wasn't until after that relationship was over, in the middle of COVID, that I was like, okay, let me just not try the relationship thing, and let me get in these streets for a minute. Let me wild out. Let me sow my Royal Oaks and all these other things. And I did that. And of course, the result from that.
Right.
It was after my last child was born that my depression kicked in, because I realized I was at a low place. Nobody saw it because everybody just saw fly tie, dressing nice, talking nice, singing on stage. But I had to tap into what was really bothering me. Why am I always feeling like this day after day, week after week, month after month? Right. Didn't even seek therapy. I did a counseling session maybe once, and that guy was very helpful. But after that, I felt like, okay, that was all I needed. And that lasted for like a week or two. And after that, I went back into my spell of, okay, shutting down, pounding myself for my mistakes. But then through much meditation, through much prayer, tapping into yoga, all these things, that self-care, it really opened me up to start speaking about it. Because I believe holding it in kind of held me down. They say dis-ease causes disease. And I believe that, even though I didn't get a disease. Let me make that clear. Dis-ease causes disease.
Right.
The more and more I started speaking about it, I started feeling better about it. Even to this day, I'm almost 3 years in, out of depression, and I'm feeling better. And I'm now encouraging. I'm like, okay, man, I could imagine what guys are going through this right now, and they ain't saying nothing.
Right.
So instead of knocking on their door or shooting them a text, it's just creating spaces to say, okay, hey, you may not have nobody to talk to, but come check this out for a minute, man. Right? And I do it over like cigars and scriptures, or randomly just meeting guys wherever they are. It might be over a drink, it might be at a game or something, and they just need that time to say, okay, well, hey, man, I don't want to talk about it, so to speak, but just let me get out the house and just have some guy time, some moments, man. Are you comfortable sharing an experience that you've dealt with concerning mental health?
The way that I got into this, I had two episodes probably classified as major depressive episodes.
Wow.
The one that really got me here was I was in management with a company some years ago, and I think my grandmother had passed recently. And one night I just couldn't go to sleep. I hated my job. I didn't like where I was in life. Decent from a financial standpoint, but I just knew there was more to it.
Yes, sir.
And I woke up that morning and I called basically one of our supervisors there, and I said, man, I'm not all right. Like, I ain't all right. Like, I'd never gone through anything like that before. And I remember that night like it was yesterday. Like, I literally, we would go to work, from 5 a.m. to whatever time.
Yeah.
And I got in that bed at 8 o'clock that night, and I was wide awake at like 3 o'clock that morning.
Wow.
I was wide awake till 3 o'clock that morning. No substances, no nothing. And, that's something that pushed me here. The other thing that was rough for me, that I also think helped to push me here, and I talk about this with my close friends, parents got divorced. I was grown.
Wow.
I was 18.
Yeah.
I was 18, but I started wilding out. And so it brings a little bit of shame, but I realized that I was mourning a lot of their relationship, my childhood, what I thought marriage was supposed to be, and a lot of other things. And and I had to seek professional help. I had to seek professional help even back then. So those two things really pushed me here. And the one thing that really hit home was, you know, one of the counselors, one of the therapists told me, you know, like a story about his dad. And, you know, his dad was, I think he worked in like a factory or something.
Okay.
And he said, you know, my dad dealt with everything he had to do every day, but every day he came home mad. Every day he took out a lot of stuff on us. We just didn't know terms like depression back then.
Yeah.
And so it made me think, like, how many people are really living with this, not just me. And so I just took a different approach to what I wanted to do with my life. I made a major shift, a major U-turn at that point. And I just started thinking about this thing a little different. I actually feel like God kind of pushed me, I feel like God pushed me here.
Yeah.
Something that was always in me, but those are my biggest things. And then I shared a third thing, right? Like, you know, I do work with my nonprofit,
Yes,
Foster
sir.
Fathers. We found out our daughter was autistic. That was rough.
Yes, sir.
And I live with that every day. And so that is something that you have to deal with. And there's so many people that we pass by every day that sit on this couch or sit in that couch and there that you say, like, they just see Fly Ty. Might be Fly James or Fly Quan or Fly whoever.
Yeah.
It's like they got it all together and we about to break down.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know, those are things, hopefully I answered the question.
No, that's good. You did.
Hopefully I answered the question, but those are some things that really pushed me to be where I am right now. And it also gives me empathy to help other people. It also gives me a lot of empathy to help other people and not judge.
Good. Well, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you, man. A lot of men need this. So just in case men want to reach out, or there may be a female that want to get this information to their significant other or to their nephew or son or grandson, how can they find you?
You can go to my website, www.forward, like going forward, CC, like community college, forwardcc.net. You can follow me. We just created Space Instagram.
Yes, sir. Good.
Space Fellowship on Instagram. And also, we just created a Black Men's the Self-Development Guide. It's free on my website.
Dope.
So if you want to go there, you can go there, www.forwardcc.net. It's under the shop option. It's a free guide.
Yeah.
You just got to put in a little bit of information, but please check me out. Please check me out.
Appreciate you, Jay.
All right, brother.
Yo, thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of One on One with Ty Will.